Now, there's been a lot of talk about the ND filters and whether they actually make the DJI Neo footage better. I can tell from experience that ND filters are absolutely essential for most of my photo and video gear, including the camera I'm recording this on or my bigger drones. The problem with the DJI Neo is that if you just get the drone on its own, the app doesn't really allow you to change any of the settings. However, these little guys have been sent to us to check them out and see if this will actually improve the image quality coming from the Neo itself. So we'll do this just with the drone on its own, and then I'll try to hook up my goggles and see if we can get better footage by adjusting some of the basic settings. Let's get this guy in the air and I'll walk you through everything. We'll start by flying it with no filters on. So let's see how that's gonna look like. You probably know how it's gonna look like, but just to have the comparison. We will start with the ND8. Attaching is that simple. There's a little metal ring that goes onto your camera. You just glue it on, that simple to put it on. And with these filters, they just magnetically clip on. Mind you, it is pretty sunny today. Like, really sunny. Cold as hell because we're in Scotland, everything's frozen and stuff. But it is the sunniest day I could have in the winter to actually test these things. 16. Now, let's do the 32, which is the darkest one we get in the set. I honestly have no idea how it's going to look in a post. I'm kind of guessing it will make marginal difference. I'm just not sure how the algorithms within the drone are going to deal with that ND filter going on. Whether it's going to bump up the ISO, it's going to lower the shutter speed. One way to find out. We'll try this with these bad boys on, where we can actually change the settings within the drone to match the ND filter we put on it. I've run out of the charge. This is charging it up right now. I'll talk about this little power bank in the next video. It is pretty essential when you're out and about and things like this happen. Now we're going to take the filters off and we're going to fly it in full auto just to show you the difference in the blur and the motion blur. Blur and motion blur. In the motion blur you're getting with or without the filters. Cool, let's go back in the studio. I've got a couple of other examples I filmed when I was away in Spain, so it was a little bit sunnier, definitely warmer. And let's just compare them and see if it's actually worth getting ND filters for this little drone if you just have the drone on its own, because I'm pretty sure that if you've got a controller and you can adjust all the settings, it will make significant difference in the picture quality. After starting to edit the footage, I wasn't really that blown away by the quality improvement you get in the auto mode. Of course, there is a significant more motion blur you're getting even with the ND8, especially with the ND16 and 32, but it's not as significant as when you got a full manual control over the drone. Things do change quite a bit when you've got full control over the ISO, the shutter speed, the sharpness, and the noise reduction in manual mode. If you take a closer look at this frame here, it's very obvious how much more motion blur you're getting from ND16 versus no ND whatsoever. Sadly, to achieve that, you do have to buy either a controller or goggles with either the RC controller or the motion, which makes the drone quite a bit more expensive than the original $199. And you have to ask yourself a question whether it's worth the extra expense or whether you should go for something better, like the DJI Mini, which has a better camera than this, and to be fair, it is a little bit more of a higher quality drone than the Neo. You can't really argue with the fact that ND filters make a huge difference when you've got manual control over your drone's camera settings. However, if you're flying this little guy just using your mobile, I'm not 100% sure. The ND16 kind of makes sense, because in most scenarios when you're outdoors, it adds that bit of motion blur, making the whole footage a little bit smoother. Even in the auto mode, if you look at the ND16 footage, it looks so much more natural than without any filters at all. You can't expect the same results as you would get from, say, Mavic 3 or even the Air S3, and you have to decide, looking at my footage, and I'm sure there's hundreds of other videos out there, whether it's worth spending extra $20 on a set of filters. I think the ND16 is going to be living on this drone full time, regardless whether I'm flying this with a pair of goggles or just on its own. Well, to be fair, I don't really use goggles with Neo, like ever. This drone lives in my backpack just to capture moments where I really don't want to set up the whole thing. I don't want to go through the process of linking up my controllers and the display and the phone. I just want to get it in the air, follow me around, or take a droney and just be forgotten about. And I'm pretty sure when we'll get actual summer back in Scotland, and for maybe 2 or 3 days a year, the 32 is gonna jump on this little guy as well. Let me know what you think about the footage down in the comments, and whether you think that these filters actually make a difference, or is it me just pixel peeking? And as always, if you have any questions, give us a shout in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Have a good one.